Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at deck lists that you can take to the Decathlon event number 4, Emblem Standard. So it's standard best of 1 with this emblem that you get, and it is an ability, and it doesn't pop up. So you get gift bag emblem. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to choose one that hasn't been chosen. Note this isn't recurring, so you don't get multiple treasure tokens over time. It's just 3 bonuses. You get a treasure token, a clue token, and a food token. This emblem is largely useless other than some initial ramp. It does help you in an aggressive deck to drop your hand a little bit sooner. It can get you to board wipe sooner or kind of your top end. There's some insulated life and everybody basically gets a free card draw for 2 mana. But it doesn't allow you to get multiple things. So keep that in mind. What we're going to look at is some best lists for the format right now and go over some of the lists that folks are doing well with from the ladder itself. So I actually got 7 wins, and we'll flip over. So the first deck, and I basically played this deck with some minor changes. So this is a Jeskai Reanimator deck on the ladder from Mythic rank from December 28th to the 4th. So about a week, the last week. It's got a 61-ish% win rate. So I played pretty much this exact list. The deck's called Imported Deck 5. I played a game on mobile, so it's missing the last. But I just made a switch where I cut down on 1 copy of Negate, and I went up a copy of Brotherhood's End, and I cut the Bank Buster, and I went up a 2nd copy of Sanctuary Warden to be more threat heavy. After playing the list, the Cityscape Leveler was whatever. I basically reanimated it once. This card was really good. Obviously Portal's really good. You're fairly weak to control. I would probably say if I were to do it again, the Sunset Reveilles were clutch. There's a lot of aggressive decks. Sheoldred's tough to deal with. The 1 Negate was fine in the deck, but I might cut the Leveler and instead just play either like a 3rd Sanctuary Warden or just something to gain some life. Even another Sunset Reveille would be pretty good in that. But this deck was really sweet. We played I bet Rakdos sack, Rakdos mid, mono white soldiers. So I lost to Esper control and blue white soldiers that had a very aggressive start, and I had tap land, tap land, tap land. I was a turn away from sweeping their whole board, but instead I died. Bet Grixis anvil, bet Izzet control it was, I think. Mono red, kind of beat up on all that. Another deck to look at, and I'll post all these deck lists so you can copy and paste. Esper Legends. So this is looking to leverage Plaza heroes that have multicolor spells, and every creature in the deck's pretty much a legend. You have a Ratadrabic, but it's basically Esper good cards held together with Rafine to kind of get you some card advantage. The 4 copies of Denic will come in pretty clutch against the aggressive slanted decks, gains you some life kind of mixed into there, and then you just got a bunch of utility creatures. Seal Seraph on their top end, Urtai is removal and counter spell. I would probably say I would trim some of the cute stuff like Raven Man and play another copy of Sheoldred at least. Sheoldred's very good, and you should probably be playing more than 1 copy in your block-based decks. You got your top-end threats here that help you find other creatures or reanimate, kind of mixed within there. This is a very expensive deck in terms of wildcards. I wouldn't go out and craft it. You can probably play cheaper decks, the reasonable succession. We have blue-white soldiers, another good solid choice, 59%. So unlike mono red, this one can deal larger chunks of damage through Lord effects in the format, because keep in mind, everybody gets 3 extra life potentially. So you have your 1-drops that provide either pumps or card advantage. Harbin, like my opponent went turn 1 Harbin, and it's a very good card to have turn 1 against you. Resolute Reinforcements, you got Thalia in here, Valiant Veteran as a pump effect. The tax is actually pretty decent, because if opponents are trying to do like Brotherhood's End early or sweeper effects, stuff like that, the tax can be relevant. Card advantage in the Sky Strike Officer, you have the Myrels here. I would honestly probably go to Myrels for Sky Strike. Sky Strike's very good in terms of providing you with the grind element that the deck would need. And then you have your Brutal Cathars as removal, Fortified Beachhead as your mana sink. Then have Mono Red Burn through Mechanized Warfare. This is a 56% win rate deck. Looking to leverage Mechanized Warfare with End the Festivities to deal scalable damage. Every copy of Mechanized Warfare is a one-sided buff in terms of your board wipe. So it could do 2, 3, 4 damage each of your opponent's creatures and their face. Outside of that, you got like Monastery Swift Spear, just a bunch of like dorks that kind of get bigger. Reckless Impulse refills your hands. Some Chandras in there. This can get under folks. You do have enough removal, so you're probably fine in the Soldiers matchup. This deck falls pretty hard to Shieldred though. No access to kind of clean removal without multiple. You need like multiple Mechanized Warfares, and you're often 2-for-1ing yourself there. If you're looking for just kind of good old-fashioned fair Grixis, you have Grixis midrange. So this is going to be basically built around Fable the Mirrorbreaker, Invoke Despair, Shieldred. You got Corpse Praiser for card advantage, Graveyard Hate, Make Disappear for counters. Abrade is actually pretty solid. There's a lot of people playing Anvil and this Portal deck, as well as just incidental, like you'll see the Izzet control deck that we have next come up. I would probably play, like, I do 3 Go for the Throats, 3 Abrades, to be honest. It seems very well positioned. I also ran into an opponent on Grixis doing a 3-1 split of Make Disappear and a Negate. The Negate really hurt, because late game against some of these grindier decks, the Make Disappear kind of lose text, where the Negate's always a hard counter. Invoke Despair obviously being a hell of a card, and then Blade Coil Serpent as kind of your big mana sink late game that hopefully wins, like just, you know, haste, discard, card draw, all that built into it. And it also, you know, it's a pretty decent threat. Like, you don't get the ETB effects because you don't, it's on cast, but it's still a good copy with Fable the Mirrorbreaker, just a 5/4 body every turn. And then we go to Izzet Control. This was the other deck I beat. I was able to cut them off mana. This is a deck that takes advantage of the artifacts, lets you ramp up. So turn 2 Stern Dismissal, that then lets you leverage those Power Stones. It's looking to top out at Skitterbeam Battalion, ideally casting it for 9 mana to hit for 12 in the turn. So this is kind of akin to the Greasefang. Obviously not as quick, but you're basically providing enough power in a certain turn with Trample and Haste that you can hopefully just overwhelm your opponent. You also have Cityscape Leveler, which is a hell of a card to copy with Fable the Mirrorbreaker. The Might Stone is both card advantage and removal, and then you got your Braids, Brotherhoods, Ends, and like Fables in here. I'm just kind of looking on Twitter. I'll link my Twitter if you want to look. I'm just going to like lists if you want to see like what to play. So this is a Grixis Anvil deck with Saheeli that provides some card advantage. So it's pretty much black-red Anvil with Make Disappears, and then Saheeli's for card advantage, more bodies, and then the Corpse Praisers for card advantage. The Onicult Anvil has a whole bunch of extra fodder in this format. Just getting 3 free artifacts is 3 free bodies. Farewells, by the way, is very good in this format right now. Probably even over Burn Down the House, more so in that regard. Transmogrant's Crown pairs really nice with Anvil, where for 1 mana each turn you get to draw an extra card through the sacking of the token, kind of mixed in with there. But like, I was just looking through like my Twitter, I was liking a few things, but like we have just traditional Rakdos mid, kind of in there. You have like another of the Izzet control decks. This the Grixis one I showed. We have a copy of the Soldiers deck, like I mentioned, so fairly similar. This one's on Dennick. I actually don't hate Dennick just with the life gain elements and then it providing you a secondary flying body. But with the Anvil decks, they're going to gum up the ground, so it kind of helps with the race. So it's another inclusion in terms of mana base or creature configurations. There's this version here of Rakdos that's interestingly playing Junkyard Genius that lets you sack another artifact or creature, and creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain Menace and Haste. So kind of works out really nice with either these Anvil tokens, the free tokens, or you can kind of haste out Fable the Mirrorbreaker. Gix Command is another interesting card that helps you grind those matches as well. So there's a couple different variations of Rakdos, stuff like that. Like I said, I'll continue to like deck lists that I see off Twitter. I'll link my Twitter, so if you just want to go in, you can just see, copy the list there, but I'll post all these deck lists as well. Yeah, and then as always, like same as we did with the Pauper one, if you're doing well with certain lists, drop the lists in the comments, and then we can share with others, and we'll just try to compile a whole bunch of deck lists for everyone. In any case, thanks for watching. Good luck. Hopefully you get your next token. I am going to go struggle at Sealed. I went 1-3 in the first one with a terrible pile, but trying to get my 4th token as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one and stay safe out there.